How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today's video we're having a look at the speed exploit that can currently be used in World of Tanks console. We're going to have a look at how it works, what you'll need, what tanks it works best on, and basically everything you need to know about using this new equipment is what this video focuses around. So that is what the speed exploit is, in conjunction with some of the previous consumables and some of the actual equipment that was already in the game, in order to make your tank go up to 20% faster on any tank in the game. So that applies to every single tank in the game. You look at the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen, the fastest light tank in the game, or in terms of top speed, going 75 kilometers an hour as its maximum, can now go up to 90 kilometers an hour top speed in this thing. Just ridiculous. Plus, in-game, if you're going down a hill or you're using kind of the terrain to your advantage, if you're taking down off of a hill, you can actually go up to 100 kilometers an hour top speed that I've seen in the game with actual screenshots. Now, that is absolutely insane. We're going to have a look at how to do it in just a second. So, what makes this actually just blatantly overpowered and just absolutely ridiculous is that you can take a normal tank and increase its top speed by 25% of its top speed, what it currently was, and then it now becomes way faster. This has completely broken some of the light tanks in the game. If you take stuff like the Vanguard, which is just absolutely ridiculous as is, you slap on 20% speed to that, you can get up to top speeds of 88 kilometers an hour. I've got a video that basically highlighted that as part of a shorts video. I've got a gameplay of what the actual top speed was, and I've got various different gameplays that I'm going to show you on screen as to the different tanks that you can use it on. I've tried it out on a couple ones. We've got the Panzer V4 just being absolutely balanced, going 66 kilometers an hour in a tank that weighs tons, has a Panther hull at tier 5, so you can imagine what ramming something at 66 kilometers an hour with all of the ramming perks on to reduce the damage you take and increase the damage that the opponent takes. It's absolutely mad. Now, do I think it's balanced? Absolutely not. What have Wargaming thought? Why didn't they just give it a flat out bonus to speed? So give it a plus 5 kilometers an hour speed, because, you know, the ones that are going to take the most advantage out of this are the fastest tanks in the game, because it is a percentage based boost. And when you combine them all together as they do, you can just have some ridiculous speeds. We're going to play a live gameplay here in the T50-2 and go through some of the thought process that Wargaming have obviously done and how it can be just basically blatantly exploited. Now, what you want to do in terms of this is actually whack on the 2 new equipment slots that you might not have already known about that Wargaming implemented as part of this update. The 2 new ones basically give you a boost of 15% to your top speed, plus you can whack on a fuel boost which also increases that top speed by 5%, so you've got a 20% top speed bonus, and you've also got a 15% bonus to horsepower, so you'll be getting up to your top speed faster. It's just absolutely ridiculous, and I really don't get Wargaming were thinking when they thought that if you just add an extra like 20% speed to everything, then it's going to be absolutely fine and balanced, because let me tell you, it absolutely isn't. The T50-2 can now go 90 kilometers an hour, and that's easy kilometers an hour to get up to as well. It's not one of those where it's just downhill. It is literally 90 kilometers an hour when you're going at top speed in this thing. That's because of the fuel boost when you activate it. It's just madness what they were thinking. Although it says the top speed is 83 kilometers an hour, that's just a flat out lie, because when you get up to that top speed, you can actually go over depending on the ground and the terrain and stuff like that. But you see, we're already at 60 kilometers an hour in the game. We're moving up to 80 now. Yeah, just disgusting. And when you think about it, when the EBRs were super overpowered in the game, Wargaming on PC, you know, they were only going 80 kilometers an hour, maybe maximum of 90 kilometers an hour. But you can see, it's not even like you don't turn when you go in this fast, because you do. Now, I just don't get it. I really don't get it. I get it that Wargaming, probably the aim of it was to actually just increase the speed of those heavy tanks that were going really slow. But in my personal opinion, if you just gave a flat out buff, that would have already done that. You know, that would have meant that the light tanks took less of the impact of going that fast comparatively to those of the heavy tanks, because obviously you're going to get more of a benefit. You're going to get more kilometers an hour because you have more kilometers an hour available to your tank. So I think that Wargaming didn't really take into account that people are going to just put on all of the equipment onto that and abuse it. Now, obviously, this is a time in the game where it's new, so I would expect that they might change things relatively soon. So don't be surprised if basically Wargaming nerf this and they remove it or they do something to it, because let's be honest, it's not going to be balanced for the majority of players in the game. So yeah, I think that what you need to do is take advantage of it. If you want to have a go at playing in tanks at 90 kilometers an hour in your light tanks, then definitely do that now. You can see, you know, we're up to 70 kilometers an hour in absolutely no time. 80 kilometers an hour, 85, 86, 87. You know, this is just absolutely ridiculous, and I genuinely don't get what they were thinking. You whack it on a tiny tank, they're never going to be able to hit you. It's such a hard actual thing to hit, let alone when you're going now 20% faster. In the Vanguard, it's basically impossible when someone's going at top speed in that tank to be able to actually hit them. I just don't think people were actually thinking in the Wargaming development, or at least they just didn't think that players would be whacking on all of these upgrades, I guess, to be able to go to these top speeds. Now, in terms of your heavy tanks, you can make them go 20% faster, so if you whack it on a mouse, it's probably not going to do too much. You know, you might only go an extra 5 kilometers an hour faster than what you previously were doing in the game. If we whack on a thingy onto, obviously, the T100LT, it's going to make the biggest difference, because it goes 75 kilometers an hour faster, or 75 kilometers an hour as its standard. The T50-2, for example, goes 72 kilometers an hour as standard, and you can get that up to 83 kilometers an hour in the garage. So, you know, it's really dependent on what you want to play the tank like. Obviously, if you whack it all on with the speed boost, you might not necessarily need it. You might only want to put one of the top speed ones on. The other equipment might want to be used for stabilizers, and I would recommend it if you're going this fast. You always want to run with stabilizers on, because if you don't, you might be going super fast, but you're never going to be able to hit anything. Now, I just don't see how this can ever be balanced, and why Wargaming thought that this was okay. It's just really not, and I hope that they actually sort it out, because to be honest with you, it's not going to be fun just coming up against constant light tanks running at 90 kilometers an hour. Because there's so many of them that can actually do that. I think that they'll probably do something about it, because it is just ridiculous, and you can see just how easy it is for me to avoid shots now comparatively to before. Yeah, you used to be able to avoid shots because obviously you're quite fast, but for the majority of time, you probably wouldn't be able to avoid too many shots for the most part. So what we're going to do now is just try and clean up the rest of this game. Out-traverse this CS, because what the hell is he going to do? As we do actually get hit. This guy's just YOLOing me. But yeah, this thing's just ridiculous. And we're going to go into some actual gameplay footage in a second of the Vanguard, a really, really good game that I want to highlight just how ridiculous you can be when you've got your tanks in your game that can do this. Now, this one hasn't been a bad game. We've not had a terrible game. It's not been the best game that I've ever had, but what we can now do is just get in a bush, and this Tiger P is going to have fun. Now, because the Tiger P is pretty much he can hit us once, right? Which means that we can basically out-traverse him if we manage to get around him. He's never going to be able to really hit us. So the element of surprises is one of the things that you can use with this. And if you're going at top speed, he's obviously moving up towards us, so we can just get behind him now. And because not only do these equipment actually increase your speed, they actually increase your traverse speeds as well. So obviously there's someone behind us trying to shoot us that we need to be aware of, but we can just farm this Tiger P, and he's not really going to be able to do very much. Obviously this is where being a heavy tank is just boring, because the light tanks can just get around you, and it's made even worse now because obviously this ARL is now coming. But it's just one of those things where Wargaming obviously didn't think about it, or at least they didn't think about it enough. And I think that that's something that they'll have to look at in the future, because it just cannot stay like this. Like, yeah, I'm just hoping that they do think about it. And for you guys, you want to test out this, then you go ahead, whack it on whatever tanks you want to do. It's going to be so fun. You're going to enjoy it. Obviously, we've racked up a decent amount of damage in this game, a decent amount of assistance, and hopefully we'll actually be able to pick up this artillery piece as well. Unfortunately, haven't actually fire a PCR at him because we've run out of standard rounds. But yeah, we did manage to have an alright game. 2,600 damage in the T50-2 isn't bad. We only managed to actually get hit once, I think, out of all of that, or twice even, which is ridiculous. But yeah, you can see just how silly this tank actually is when you whack on all of those boosts. We'll go into the garage to actually have a look at what you can actually do with it, which the actual loadout you should have. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and then we'll go into a Vanguard gameplay at the end of this, just highlighting how you can use the Vanguard to even better of an effect, basically. So the equipment that you want gun stabilizer. That increases the accuracy of the tank by 20%. That's going to be really, really vital for when you're going this fast. Yeah, super important. The only sacrifice that you do make is the view range, and obviously having the advanced concealment. So you're not going to be able to spot tanks as easily, and you're going to get detected more. But that's not the aim of this meta. This is basically go as fast as hell, go spot the enemies, retreat back without them being able to hit you, because it's so hard to hit something when it crests a ridge at 80 kilometers an hour, ducks back down it in half a second or less, and then, you know, you're making it more of an effective kind of poke to be able to spot opponents, so you don't need that view range. I mean, potentially if you really wanted to just go for a spotting build, you could go for the advanced optics as well as this, so you can just make a really, really quick spotting run back into cover and then have some good games like that. But I think in terms of being a kind of overall build for the speed, then having the stabilizer is the most important thing for me anyway. Now, in terms of what else you need this advanced powertrain. You also need traction system. Now, both of these combined, obviously you'll see there's a 15% if you combine them. They do stack together, so they don't actually work just on their own, so you won't just get a 10% speed, it'll be 15%. Plus you'll get a 10% chassis and hull rotation speed on top of this. It's not even like it gives you a plus 10% speed, it also increases your chassis and the hull rotation speed, so not only do you go faster, you get that much more speed in terms of your manoeuvrability, and you get a 5% max horsepower. Yeah, just what a wargaming thinking. Absolutely disgusting. They need to limit the top speed, so maybe maximum of 5 kilometers an hour increase when you put on the equipment. Then you whack on a fuel boost. You've got a 10% horsepower boost, so yeah, in line with the other with the equipment in terms of what the max speed will go up. So as long as your tank actually gets up to its top speed now, it will be able to get up to the new top speed of the tank. Then it's got a 5% max speed passive boost, and it's got a 10% turret rotation speed boost. So this thing will basically make your tank maneuverable. It will be able to actually deal with going 90 kilometers an hour. Yeah, this is just absolutely ridiculous. And if you whack it on the fastest tank in the game, or at least at tier 10, being the T100 LT, you whack on a 20% speed boost to 72 kilometers an hour, you're going to be going rapid, absolutely rapid, the same speed as the T50-2. oh, what a wargaming thinking. What a wargaming thinking. And I mean, even then, you can have a look at the German light tank, 75 kilometers an hour top speed. Whack that on this, and you will literally break the game. And I'm not even joking. Try it out yourselves. There's a gameplay coming up to just highlight even more how you can use this and the sort of things. It's not necessarily the best gameplay in the world, but it is a really good one that highlights the top speed, where you can get away and how you can get away, and using that camo that small tanks basically give. It's just made the small fast tanks super OP in the game as they are right now. Hopefully you have enjoyed this so far, and we're going to have a look at this gameplay in just a second. The Vanguard gameplay in question that we're going to be looking at today is on Vineyards. This is a really kind of fairly new map that came into the game about a month ago as of the recording of this video, and when it gets released. It's an interesting map that certainly offers the option to be able to spot for your team and be able to use your light tanks effectively, because it's quite open in areas with some really decent kind of areas for heavy tanks as well down in the bottom of the map, that city area, whereas this hilly area over here and this central part of the map to the north is also really useful. Now, obviously you want to get into position to spot in your light tanks, and that is certainly where this speed boost can really help. Also helps with relocating around the map. So if you want to move around the map, this speed boost and speed exploit is going to make you so much better on World of Tanks console in terms of being able to do that. You can really surprise your opponents by just getting into positions where the sheer speed of your tank is that fast. I mean, in this gameplay, we got up to a top speed in the Vanguard of 88 kilometers an hour. Granted, it was downhill, but that just showcases you how fast these tanks can now go. You can see we get stupid air, and we're going up to, 70 kilometers an hour fairly easily in the Vanguard, which never really happened too often in terms of in just a flat kind of area. Obviously, the top speed of the Vanguard previously was 70 kilometers an hour, so now it's up to 80 kilometers an hour. Plus, when you're going downhill, you can go slightly faster, which makes it that little bit better. Now you can see what we're doing is we're using our handbrake all of the time in this gameplay to be able to kind of make those really short sprints where you fling your tank around and move in a completely different direction. It's really useful to avoid shots. So a lot of the time people will actually not use the handbrake, and it means you don't get that turning circle, and it means you're kind of a little bit more predictable than if you're using it effectively. Now, you see that Borsig, he is going to be a real pain for us at the end of the game. You'll see just exactly what happens with regards to him in just a second. Now, this VKD is one of those tanks that is actually really annoying to play against for me, and he certainly was annoying in this game at least. But you can see he's finding it very hard for him to be able to actually hit us on the move, because we are, probably a third of the size of his tank. We can move probably nearly twice as fast as him, and you see what we did there? We actually used that handbrake, like I was talking about. We can use the handbrake to quickly turn in a direction that he might not have been able to predict. Now, we made a bit of a misplay there, because what happened is we hit that tree, which stumps the Vanguard because it just weighs absolutely nothing, and that's one of the key problems. As we just quickly double pump two people there in quick succession, looking at this dragon at the end, and we managed to shut him down as well, meaning we get 3 destroyed, and in just literally a matter of seconds in the Vanguard. Now, that doesn't tend to happen, because how often there are 3 tanks on less than 200 hit points that you can quickly deal damage to? Not very often, but you know, we'll take it. So it's a 4 versus 6 in this game. We've managed to actually pick up 2,100 damage, which isn't bad for the Vanguard, because the DPM on it is pretty terrible, I'm not going to lie. It's not the best. But what we are going to do in this game is actually something quite ridiculous. At the end of the game, when you think that you just got no chance in hell, we do manage to kind of pull out some sort of victory for myself anyway. Now, we've got this Type 59 or Type 58 even, that kind of you know, that's a tier 6. It's not really going to do too much to me anyway. And we're going to outspot him pretty much every time because we just have that camo of having such a small tank. Now that's also a benefit of using this mobility, because you can get into bushes around the map in various different places. You want to be playing like you own the map basically, because you have the mobility, no one else is going to be as fast as you, and that's really, really essential. You know, moving, using your ability of to know the map, using the mobility to be able to get around the map. You see here, going 80 kilometers an hour. It's just a feature of this game now with these light tanks. Just crazy. Absolutely crazy. Now, we've got a Patriot on our team. It's a 2 versus 6. Not the best situation for us. The Patriot has just taken out the Vanguard on the enemy team as we take out the T-34-85 on their team. And what we're going to do now is just try and spot this Barask. Now that's a really, really lethal tank for our Patriot. And so if we can deal as much damage to him as possible, then we can, you know, help out our teammate right there. And that's obviously when the E-25 on the enemy team with 2 marks comes in to try and absolutely yeet us in the game. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't manage to hit us yet. Now, he does hit us there with 1 shot. But now he's in a non-turreted tank destroyer trying to hit a Vanguard on the move. It's very, very difficult, especially when you use those mechanics where you can actually turn quickly. You're using your handbrake to be able to move, and you're going 70 kilometers an hour around them. Very, very difficult. Now that player is obviously somewhat skilled because he's got 2 marks in the E-25. You don't have to be the best player in the world to be able to do that, but credit where credit is due, he's managed to get 2 marks on it. Now what we're going to do now is try and escape. Now, one thing I didn't realise, I don't know if that E-25 was running the exact same perks, but he was keeping up with us. Now, I know that the E-25 is fast. It goes like 65 kilometers an hour standard. But he was severely keeping up with us. Even though we have this speed boost in, we're doing 84 kilometers an hour. And you'll see in just a second, down in the bottom left, we do get 88 kilometers an hour or 86 kilometers an hour. Now, we've gone undetected. Unfortunately, we then go detected again. We get hit by the E-25 who tracks us. We quickly repair because you do not want to be out in the open against a tank like that, because their reload is just ridiculous. Now at this point I'm thinking, right, it's probably time to reload my tank. Do I do it because the E-25's coming? Well, if I don't reload, you know, I'm only going to get 2 shots into him, which isn't enough to actually take him out from full health as he is there, so I'll have to reload again, so I might as well in just a sec. But you can see right here, we're going 88 kilometers an hour in a Vanguard, down a hill, ridiculous. Yeah, this game was actually a decent one. We're on 3k damage, 663 assistance damage. Obviously, no chance of getting more assistance because we are in a situation where it's 1 versus 3. No teammates to actually assist us. At this point, I am thinking I need to get that Borsig out the game. We know he was like somewhat a 1-shot. He was around 200 damage. Whether we can actually get him out in 1 shot, I don't know. There's also that Type 58 that we did spot at the mid stage of this battle, which we also need to get out. He was on about 500 hit points. Obviously the E-25, he was on about 400 hit points or something around there. So there's still quite a lot of hit points in this game to be able to farm, and it also means that we've got to play this game quite safe to the point where, you know, we're on 51 damage or hit points I should say. Now we make the biggest misplay here in this battle. We don't fully aim on the Type 58, which means we can't take him out in 1 clip. We've left him on 122 damage. That is an ouch in terms of if you want to actually have a good game. We did manage to pick up that 400 damage, so we are on 3.4 thousand damage, 663 assistance, which is 4k combined, and that's not a bad game in the Vanguard. It's not a terrible one, it's not a fantastic one, but it certainly is an alright one. It's at this point where I'm thinking, right, I need to get rid of this Type 58 because he's in the cap. He's putting pressure on me to be able to come back to defend it. And we've got that thing where I have no idea where the C-25's gone. I thought he was going to follow me. I thought he might have gone down to the rail tracks. But obviously he hasn't. We do hit this Type 58. And then the Borsig fires at us. So we got really, really lucky there. I hit the Borsig with one. I tried to shoot another, but it did go flying high, so we didn't manage to take out the Borsig. Borsig is now on an absolute one-shot, so there's no way he cannot be taken out if I manage to pen him with my APCR rounds. One thing that I always forget in the Vanguard, right, is if you run out of AP and you've only got one shell left, it will reload obviously just the one shell. So what you don't want to do is reload for 20-something seconds to realise you've only loaded one shell in your magazine, because that's happened a few times. Obviously, when you're not paying attention, that can happen. As we know that someone's got in the cap. Now, I was pretty sure that it wouldn't be the Borsig, because why would he get in the cap considering he's a one-shot? He's going to let me know where he is. That wouldn't make sense from a standpoint of trying to win the game. I don't really get how that would work, because if he's on a one-shot, I'm going to outspot him every day if he's in that open cap circle. So I don't think it's the Borsig, I think it's the E25, which means I've got a little bit of an advantage as to knowing the situation. The Borsig there fires, really big misplay by him, because that alerts me to know that he has about probably 10 seconds, depending on the gun that he has on his tank, and I think he has the 12.5 centimeter. So that means I can go in, I can take one shot of damage before he's reloaded. Unfortunately, I thought he was going to be over there, so I made a little bit of another misplay there, and I dilly-dallied here just a little bit too long, to the point where the Borsig is now getting away. The E25 has got out of the cap, and we're going to try and hightail it out of here. Now, unfortunately for me, the E25 did manage to clip our back of our tank there and take us out the game, leaving this on a bit of a heartbreak. But I did think that the gameplay was good enough to be able to show you what you can do in your tanks that just are this fast. We managed to come third on XP in the game, even for a loss. 4,000 damage, nearly 663 assisted, 7 destroyed, 23 direct hits. We had a fantastic game. A first class badge for a loss is almost insane. And it was a decent game. 4K in the Vanguard, quite hard to do because you just have very, very poor DPM. And the speed boost that you do get from this new kind of system definitely helped with that. And I'm not going to credit myself completely because, you know, the speed boost and speed exploit just make it so much easier in-game to do well. So much harder for the enemy team to hit you. And as long as you know your positioning, that is basically the key of using this speed exploit and doing well in World of Tanks, is just position yourself in the right areas. Make sure that you actually hightail it out of there when you need to, and hope that the enemy team are kind of have that bot aim, because if they cannot aim for anything or they're auto-aiming, there is no chance they'll hit you. Auto-aiming fast light tanks is something you should never do because it just won't hit. Because obviously by the time you've fired, it aims at the midpoint of the tank, which takes time for the shell to arrive at the point that you were aiming at, and it's never going to be there, or the enemy tank is never going to be there at that point. So be sure when you're playing World of Tanks, aim in front of them, lead your shots, and you'll do way, way better in those situations at least. Other than that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the speed exploit kind of boost that is in the game currently. Make sure you try it out for yourselves and let me know what you think. Did you enjoy it? Are you going to enjoy it? Is this something you want to stay in the game? Is it something that you just know is just completely overpowered and should definitely be nerfed to like a flat 5 kilometer an hour boost as to any tank that you put it on? So the Maus will get 5 kilometers an hour. The T100 LT will also get 5 kilometers an hour increase. So it's not a percentage based boost. I think that would be far, far better than the current system we have in the game, because it just isn't balanced being able to go 90 kilometers an hour. I've seen people reach 100 kilometers an hour in some of the tanks downhill. The Rheinmetall Panzerwagen down a hill can do 100 kilometers an hour. Now that is something insane, absolutely insane, should never be in the game, and in my personal opinion, I really hope it does go. Other than that, guys, though, if you want to check out more content for the modern tanks, it should be on screen right now. And if you want to have a look at some more community aspects, there'll be the community polls on my channel that you can have a look at and vote on. But other than that, I hope you guys once again have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.